Hello, everybody, to you, the wonderful person listening, and welcome back, everybody, to the Growing and Glowing podcast. Okay, that was maybe a little bit too much energy for pregnant me right now, guys. I just sprinted up the stairs because I'm so excited to be doing today's episode, and she's out of breath. She forgets she cannot take a single step without feeling like she's climbed Mount Everest at the moment. I've officially reached that point in my pregnancy. Every day for the last week, I've literally pulled my wardrobe doors open, stood there and thought, what on earth am I actually going to wear today? What on earth am I actually going to be comfortable in? And I say to Con, I'm just going to have to do pyjamas, babe. I can't do it. I'm getting to the point where I just will have to just not leave the house. And Con can just forget about, this like stunning version of his wife that actually gets dressed every day. I'm really getting to that point. Anyway, first digression of the episode. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. Oh, I am so happy you're here today. I actually have tingles. I'm so excited to talk with you about what we're going to talk about today. I just think it's going to be amazing for you and you're going to absolutely love it. So thanks for tuning back in. Hope you all loved episode 1, by the way. I'm actually filming this on the day that the first episode was released, and I just want to take a moment to say, oh my lord, everybody, I am so eternally grateful for all of your love and support and just feedback on episode number 1. I have had, I can't lie, a couple of sleepless nights about it as it's been leading up to the release, and I've just been so in my head about some stuff, and I think from past learned behavioural patterns, I was really starting to panic about my vulnerability, and I was starting to fear the consequences of that. But actually, it's been such a beautiful reminder that vulnerability is literally the key to human connection, and sharing experiences is something that is so important to make us all feel like we're not alone. And I'm just so beyond grateful for all of the love. So thank you from the very, very bottom of my heart. You have absolutely no idea how much it means to me, and I'm so glad that you all loved episode number 1. Hopefully you're going to love this one too. But yes, welcome back. This podcast, if you are new here, if this is your first time listening to Growing and Glowing, this podcast is a safe space to delve into all things life learnings there may be, from self-love, spirituality, grief, motherhood, friendship, the list goes on, so much more. I'm here to provide you with a friend through the very up and down journey that can be growing and glowing, of course, into the very best version of who you truly are. So today, everybody, we're going to be talking about lucky girl syndrome. Hands up if you're a lucky girl in the house today. You may not be feeling like a lucky girl, babe, but let me tell you, you are, okay? We are all lucky boys, girls, men, women, dogs, babies. Abundance, happiness, health, success, wealth, it is our birthright. I'm here to remind you, and today we are going to get stuck into it. But of course, first of all, we are going to do our affirmation of the day. Now, I know we're only on episode 2, guys, okay, but hear me out. Because we're talking about lucky girl syndrome today, I just felt the need, I felt a calling to not just do one affirmation of the day today, but literally shower you in a total avalanche of affirmations. And I want you to take this moment right now, have your hand over your heart, let's let those shoulders loose, okay? Let's let them just relax wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Apart from if you're running, I know that was probably maybe a little bit hard. I've seen a few exercise queens actually tagging me on Instagram stories saying you're listening to me on a run. Honoured. Can't say I've done that in a long time. Can't say I'll be doing that for a long time. So I think you're amazing. By the way, if you're listening to me on a run, I think you're amazing anyway, but if you're running, you go, honey. Otherwise, hold your hand over your heart. Let's let our shoulders relax. Take a deep breath in. And out. Oh, that feels good, doesn't it? Oh. and I want you to listen to these affirmations. Repeat them after me if you want to. I'm going to say every single one twice, so if you do want to repeat them, you can repeat them with me on time number 2. But let's go. Lucky Girl Syndrome affirmations. Here we go. I get everything I want because that's just the way it is. I get everything I want because that's just the way it is. Everything I want wants me more. Everything I want wants me more. Things are always working out in my favour no matter how it looks at any point in time. Things are always working out in my favour no matter how it looks at any point in time. Every single day brings me a nice surprise or gift in some way. Every single day brings me a new surprise or gift in some way. I trust the universe that whatever leaves comes back better. I trust the universe that whatever leaves comes back better. I am so excited about how great today is going to be. I am so excited about how great today is going to be. I release all blocks that are holding me back from receiving my abundance. I release all blocks that are holding me back from receiving my abundance. I am the creator of my own reality. I am the creator of my own reality. There is nothing I cannot be, do, or have. There is nothing I cannot be, do, or have. Health, wealth, and happiness flow to me in an avalanche of abundance. Health, wealth, and happiness flow to me in an avalanche of abundance. Doesn't that feel great? Is she there? Is your higher self activated? Is she tapped in? Is she with us? I hope so, because that was a moment and a half. Okay, time for the highlight reel of the episode before we tap into today's topic. Today's highlight reel, when I was writing it, actually seemed a little bit basic, a little bit simple, but I thought, you know what? Sometimes it's the basic things in life that are the most magical. And if you don't understand that, you're not tapped into your Lucky Girl Syndrome, but we can get into that shortly. Okay, so number 1 on the highlight reel, we have music. Now, I don't know who she was dancing around the kitchen 2 hours ago today, eating a sausage and cheese sandwich, babe, dancing. It's embarrassing if I tell you what I was dancing to. Herbie and Hector, my 2 Labradors, were literally staring at me on their bed. Like, I was really hoping they were going to get on my vibe, but they didn't. So they're not tapped into their Lucky Girl Syndrome, that's for sure. They had already been on their walk today, so don't know what, they can't see the beauty of in that was this morning, but they weren't on my vibe, babe, but that's okay, because we do things in life not for anybody else, we just do them for ourselves. So even if your dogs are also judging you dancing around with the Hoover with your sausage and cheese sandwich in your other hand, just don't let it ruin your vibe, babe. But I was having the time of my life listening to Pink, Never Gonna Not Dance Again. Can I tell you something embarrassing? That song makes me cry. I'm thinking about even the melody and the lyrics now, it makes me cry. Does anybody else ever have that, or is that my pregnancy emotions? There's sometimes just the key change actually makes me emotional, and I sit there in my car and I'm driving back from Tesco's, or, I try and hit that note with the artist as well on the key change. I may get it, I might not, it's a 50-50 chance, but either way I still think, this is just magical, this is a big moment, what a gorgeous song. What a brilliant song to lift my vibrations. I'm never gonna not dance again. As you say, Pink. Do you know what I mean? And I was doing a little 15-minute speed clean. Something else I'd popped in the oven while I was waiting for it to do. I was like, oh my God, okay, 15 minutes. I need to unload the dishwasher. I need to hoover the kitchen. I need to all of the toys that are just currently lying on our kitchen floor back in the playroom in their places, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I can do this. And I'm just going to put on a feel-good playlist. Pink was number 1 song on there. Got me right in the feels, had me sprinting, and I am a heavily pregnant woman currently, everybody, around my kitchen, having a bloody great time, and I was loving it. So this is just your daily reminder for the little highlight reel of today's episode. If you are like me and you are so connected to there's something about music, and you've not had that connection with it in a while, honey, and you are like, I need a good song to get me up out of this funk. There's a 1975 song actually that does that to me at the moment. It's called I'm in Love with You by the 1975, and we've actually dedicated, my husband and I and my toddler, even though he doesn't really know what we're telling him sometimes, we have all decided that we have dedicated this song, I'm in Love with You by the 1975, to our new arrival, our baby boy, who is coming very shortly. It is such a feel-good song, guys. Like, if I could actually just dedicate the whole highlight reel of today's episode to that song, please, I actually give you permission to pause this podcast episode right now and go to that song. And please have a boogie, turn it up, even if you don't know the melody yet. Trust me, babe, 2 or 3 listens, you'll get it. But it's one of those songs you need to trust, that you just need to turn up straight away. Oh, I've got my toes tapping already. I'm just thinking about it. But yeah, sometimes music just is what I need. Just a little bit of a dance, a little bit of a boogie, a 15-minute speed clean, doing something for my future self. I thought, I'm great right now. I'm really going to give myself a big pat on the back later tonight when I walk into this kitchen and I see that the floor is hoovered and clear, and I don't have a toy car that I'm stepping on accidentally and making loads of noise when I've just put Saint to bed. I'm going to thank you, Pink, for getting me through that 15-minute speed clean and giving me the motivation I needed, babe, because it was amazing. So, music and having a good boogie is number 1 on my highlight reel today. Number 2, water. Now, let me tell you one thing. It's quite a dreary day today, you know, one of those days where it's like a bit cloudy, it's like 2 degrees, grey outside. It was one of those days where I thought it'd be lovely to have a lunchtime cup of tea right now. Really nice and hot cup of tea, you know, sit down, don't even need the biscuits, babe. Sorry, who am I? The fact that I just said that, literally can't even recognise myself right now, but of course I'm going to need some biscuits with the tea. It was that nice though, that the cup of tea sounded that appealing to me on its own. I really, really wanted one. But then I thought, no, actually, Ellie, because you haven't had very much water to drink today. And let me tell you guys, water is information. Water is energy. This is your reminder. If you've not had a glass of water today, please go and do it. Dehydration is an energy drainer, babe. We don't want that. We want all of the energy we can have. Go and sip your water. So instead of my cup of tea, I've actually got my big Spartan 2-pinter. Now, if you guys have been around for the YouTube vlogs for my pregnancy and my first pregnancy, you will know this glass. If you're watching me on YouTube right now, you will have a perfect front row view of my stunning beer glass that I have to have bedside table every single night. Otherwise, I can't cope. Yeah, I thank this very beer glass, this Spaten 2-pinter, huge beer glass for both my boys actually, because I believe that if I didn't have this beer glass to get me through my nights in pregnancy, we wouldn't be thriving, we wouldn't be having that great of a time. So, have your water. Here we go, listen to this bit of ASMR. And then number 3 and finally on our highlight reel is a new book that I have been loving recently. It's a book called Zero Limits, The Secret Hawaiian System for Wealth, Health, Peace and More by Joe Vitale. This book was actually recommended to me through my meditation coach that I go to every single week. The premise behind it is essentially there was a psychiatric hospital in Hawaii. I don't know how long ago this was. It must have been about maybe 20 or 30 years ago. And there was a healer who managed to heal every single person in that psychiatric hospital so that the psychiatric hospital could be shut down. And it's still to this day, as far as I'm aware, no longer needed. But this is the thing. He didn't go and visit the hospital once. And he never saw any of his clients ever. He had their fact file, but he never went to go and visit them or spoke to them on the phone or anything. And he healed the lot. And The idea behind it is a practice called, now I really hope I'm saying this properly, Ho'oponopono. And it is a Hawaiian spiritual practice that has been around for centuries that involves accepting total responsibility, total and utter responsibility for everything that comes into your life. Anyone that you have a tricky relationship with, the idea is that you essentially repeat these 4 phrases. Accept responsibility for the fact that if it's in your life, it's something you need to clean and you need to work through, which I can't lie, I'm actually only about halfway through the book, and it's something I'm still quite confused by, because I think, there are situations that happen in life where it's very hard to accept responsibility for, but I'll let you know the final verdict when I finish the book. But you repeat these 4 phrases back to back until you truly feel it within you, and it's, please forgive me, I'm sorry, I love you, thank you. Please forgive me, I'm sorry, I love you, thank you. And yeah, I just thought it was a bit of an interesting concept, really, because Lucky Girl Syndrome, the topic of today, is, in my opinion, being able to tap into the responsibility of the fact that your life is up to you. And I feel like that book takes it one step further with, accepting responsibility for everything in the whole entire world. I'm literally talking like he healed this psychiatric hospital and everybody in it by accepting responsibility that their problems were his problems. So it's an interesting concept, and like I said, I've not worked my way through the whole book yet, but I will definitely let you know kind of how it comes to an end and what I make of it. But so far I'm really loving it. And one really important concept from the book that I've enjoyed reading about so far is this idea that we are either acting out through inspiration or through memory. And if we're acting through inspiration, that's essentially Lucky Girl Syndrome. I really cannot wait to get into this in just a sec. But if we're acting through inspiration, something feels great, it feels really good, and our mind, our soul is essentially totally clear of bad energy, bad trauma, bad memories, and the inspiration just feels good. Whereas if we're acting through memories, that's almost like those learned behavioural patterns that constantly show up in our life until we choose to take responsibility for them and stop. Because if you allow it, life can be a cycle, your behaviour can be a cycle, your response to situations is just a cycle, again and again and again and again. You end up in the same situations, you end up with the same outcome every time. And yeah, it's just a really interesting book. So that's been my book of the week, and that is my highlight reel of the week. So I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. Now it's time to buckle up, sister, and get ready to learn all about Lucky Girl Syndrome and how to manifest the life of your dreams. Okay, so let me start off by reminding you, you are a lucky girl, babe. You can be abundant. You are worthy of everything good that this universe has to give you. But are you allowing it? Are you tapping into it? If the answer to that is no, that's okay. What if resenting yourself and feeling anger for yourself and being upset about the fact that you can't seem to tap into it, what about if instead of doing that, we just open our minds to the idea that maybe, instead of things always going the way they have for us, things could actually be working out in your favour. Things could actually be better. Good things are on their way. What about if you just played with that idea instead of telling yourself the same stuff you told yourself all along and ended up with the same results that then make you feel bored, stagnant in life, like nothing good is happening for you? What about if you just played with the idea of the fact that life could be great? Lucky Girl Syndrome is, in my opinion, a cool way of saying the law of attraction. It's a cool way of saying that you're manifesting. And I like it, but I don't love the word lucky, because it's not luck. It's not luck. The good things don't just happen because you're lucky. They happen because you've been on the same vibration as that lucky thing. They happen because you've been tapped in, whether you know it or not, to your higher self. It's believing that things are always going to be okay. It's believing that you're going to make this much money. You're going to live in this house. It's having a knowing, a feeling that your life is headed where you want it to head. And there's nothing that could come in the way of you and that life. That of course good things are going to happen to you. Of course you're going to end up living the life you dreamed, because there's just no other explanation. There's no plan B. Like, things are just going to work out for you. And if you have a vision in your mind, then that is your higher self giving you a glimpse of what you can work towards, of what's in your future. I just want to tell you a little bit about my story with Lucky Girl Syndrome, because, like I said, I have always resonated with it. And when I was younger, it was just kind of a feeling that I knew that everything was going to work out and everything was going to be great. Obviously, now I'm older and can, like, put my thoughts into intellectual sentences and words, and we can label it like something like Lucky Girl Syndrome, then I think that's really great that it becomes just so, it's so broken down as an idea that it's really accessible for everybody to get on that wavelength and on that vibration. But there's kind of always been a part of me that's had it. And I remember, actually, in sixth form, I was studying psychology. I can't remember even what the discussion was about, or like what we were even learning, what the lesson was, but I remember the teacher saying, yeah, because do you know those people that good things just happen to? The people that just think things just always seem to work out for them, and they just always end up having this like great life. And one of my classmates, a girl sat a few rows behind me, was like, yeah, like Ellie. You know, at the time it was a bit like, oh, embarrassing. Like, I don't ever want to come across as if I'm, you know, I believe in myself. I don't ever want to I can't believe, like, you know, I could actually come across as if I'm like that, as if everything good does work out for me. It's like, babe, let me just go back to you, okay? 17-year-old Ellie sat in that psychology class right now. I want to give you a shake, babe. Be proud of the fact that you know things are always going to work out. Do you know how great of a thing that is to have? And I hope my 17-year-old sons end up feeling like that too, because I just think it's great. And we need to take away the shame and the judgment and the embarrassment of, oh, what will other people think of me if I end up succeeding? Babe, whatever they think of you is none of your business. That's their story. That's their judgments that they have learned through their life experiences. And if it is not on a level where they can be actually happy for somebody else being successful in life, then that is their thing, not yours, honey. Do not let them project that onto you. And I'm not in any way, shape or form saying that this sweet girl in my psychology class that said, yeah, like Ellie, meant it in a malicious way. But just as a side note, okay, to this conversation, don't ever be scared or embarrassed of success and what other people might think of it about you, and be worried about how other people might perceive your success, because your journey is your journey. I want you to know there is no competition. In Lucky Girl Syndrome, in life, in success, there is no competition. This universe can provide everybody with absolutely everything they need and more. In excess. They can give you everything on a plate times 5,000, babe. It is not possible for someone else to receive what was always meant for you. It is physically just not possible. You were put here for a reason. Your life is being mapped out the way it is for a reason. You need to know, you need to have the knowledge and the trust and the faith that whatever is coming into your life is for you. Things that are meant for you will not miss you. And you are worthy of absolutely everything you desire and so much more. Like I just said, the universe wants you to have it, babe. But at the same time, you cannot selfishly try to take away what is meant for someone else as well. There is always enough. And let me tell you, jealousy is not Lucky Girl Syndrome, okay? Jealousy ain't it, babe. If you're feeling jealous, you are feeling lack. You are feeling like you are not worthy of the success, of the happiness, of the wealth, of the whatever it is that you want to achieve in life. Jealousy ain't it, babe. jealousy is not lucky girl syndrome. So snap that out right now. I just actually jotted down in my notebook right here a couple of pinpoint moments that sprung out to me as I was preparing for this episode that I fully attribute to lucky girl syndrome and to having a positive mindset and to believing that things are going to work out for me. And one of them is actually the story of when I was working in an office job in Bristol, and I used to have to drive to get the park and ride, and I had no money to get into the centre of Bristol. I had fully run out of my wages. Every single month this always seemed to happen. I remember going to an ATM to get cash out for the bus because I didn't have any cash on me. And I remember only having, like, in my bank account at the ATM, like £4 in my bank account or something like that. It wasn't enough to basically get any money out of this ATM because I think the minimum you can get out is £10, right, of an ATM. And I couldn't get it. And I was like, how am I going to get to work today? How am I going to afford lunch today? What am I going to do? And I can't remember how that situation resolved itself. I think I probably just called Connor and asked him to transfer me like £10 so I could actually take cash out of the ATM. But I remember even in that moment feeling like, it doesn't matter because I know that money's going to come my way eventually. It's fine. This is just part and parcel of the package of me being able to get to my higher self, my higher life, my endless pit of abundance in my bank account one day. I had no idea how I was going to make money or how I was going to be successful in life and how I was going to be able to afford not only like, I don't know, like a nice holiday or a designer bag or whatever else you can think of spending money on. I couldn't even afford the bus at the time. But I still had a knowing that I was going to get there. I could just feel it in my bones. I felt it. I had a gut feeling. Even when I pulled up to that ATM and I had a slight moment of panic of like, okay, how am I actually going to get to work today? I've literally got £4 in my bank account. I still knew that that wasn't my forever. I still knew that things were going to get better and things were going to be fine. And I was going to eventually have all the abundance I could ever wish for and more. I just knew it. Fast forward however many years, I'm sure it was maybe like 3 years, and we're looking at buying our first house, me and my now husband, Connor. And we really want a new build, and we're looking around of all of these, you know, estates that are being built. And with like estates, there are often like 3 or 4 different models of houses that you can purchase. And we went to go and look at a show home for each one. There was like a little 2-bed house that we were originally looking at. Then there was a 3-bed house that we were looking at, and these were kind of both, you know, relatively in our budget, and it would have been like cool for us to go there. I think we knew we could have afforded that at the time, but we went to go and see the last house in the show homes, and it was the last like model house, and it was the 4-bed. And this model of the house was it was out of our price range. It was just out of it. Like, with the mortgage that we had been looking at getting and our finances and everything at the time, it was like, keep dreaming. But I remember being stood in the master bedroom of that house and thinking, I just know that this is our house. Like, I can just literally feel it. I know we're going to have a house like this. And I almost feel like, well, like an example of lucky girl syndrome that I even dragged Connor into the 4-bed model house anyway, because he knew we couldn't afford it, but there was something in me that was like, no, come on, let's just go and see it. Like, let's go and see it just in case. You don't know, we might be able to one day. 6 months later, we had the money to buy the 4-bed house. It was like magic. It was like, how did that happen when 6 months ago we were looking at getting an entirely different model house? That was a real... When I was preparing for this episode, I remember being taken back to that moment and thinking, that is an example of manifestation. That is an example of lucky girl syndrome, always feeling like things are going to be able to work out. I stood in that master suite of that 4-bed model show home, not knowing how on earth we were going to do it, but I knew that that house was supposed to be for us. I just could feel it in my bones. The same with when I was working a different job. This was a different job to the one where I couldn't afford the bus to one time, but I was working a different office job, and I was very early on in my YouTube career. That wasn't a career at the time, it was still just very much a passion project. I don't think I was making any, I think I was making maybe a couple of £100s from it every single month, and that was it. And I remember one day getting in trouble with my boss. It was a very small team, and we were all in like one office all together, and there was literally maybe about 10 of us maximum in this office. And my boss was always there, and he was always able to see like what everybody was doing. And I kept getting in trouble because I kept going on my phone when I should have been like making cold calls. And I was going on my phone because I kept checking how my YouTube videos were doing, and I was looking at my emails because I was constantly expecting exciting emails to come through. It was almost like I was just always sat on the edge of my seat waiting for this opportunity to come up. Anyway, I ended up getting in trouble because I was on my phone so much. And I remember he took me upstairs and he took me outside onto this gorgeous little bench. It was a sunny day. And he was like, look, bless him, he was such a sweet guy, such a nice, patient man. He was like, look, I can just tell you don't want to be here. Like, I can tell you're bored, you're unhappy. Like, do you even want this job? Because I'm willing to give you another chance if you tell me you're not going to go on your phone anymore. But I just feel like your heart's not in it. And I remember sitting there thinking, this guy is so right. I needed him as much as I've always hated getting told off. I was always such a goody two-shoes at school. I hated being pulled over to one side by any like member of authority in my life. It always makes me feel so nervous and anxious. But I thought I actually needed this to happen because this is like the kick up the backside from the universe to be like, okay, although it's scary, we're going to take the jump into what you already know is true, that YouTube is going to end up being your full-time career one day. And at the time, it was petrifying. I sat there and I was like, actually, you know what? My heart's not in it, and I'm going to quit right now, today. I literally ended up walking out of the office about 10 minutes later. And I'm going to go and pursue my dream in YouTube because I know that it's going to work out for me. And for a couple of months, like maybe 2 to 3 months, I didn't have any money. I was just kind of living off of what I had earned from that corporate job. But then it was almost like magic. It was like as soon as that money from my corporate job started to run out, money from YouTube started to pick up, and then it just carried on, and then it carried on. And eventually, because of that leap of faith, or I call it leap of faith, but I don't think it is leap of faith, because I had a knowing that it was going to work out, that I am here today. Thanks to that gut feeling, thanks to that leap of faith, thanks to that sweet man that I used to call my boss, sitting me down and being like, do you really want to do this? And I was like, actually, yeah, I do really want to do this. I do really want to quit, and I do really want to follow my dream because I have a feeling it's going to work out. Just a couple of examples of how lucky girl syndrome has worked out for me. I think back to when I was that girl who had £4 in her bank account that day at the ATM. And I think back to that girl that was stood in the master ensuite of that model show home, knowing that realistically they couldn't afford it, but she had a feeling that they would be able to somehow. Those former versions of me that just trusted the universe, and I thank them for taking the leap of faith with something that felt scary, worrying, because it's brought me to where I am today. And I have to remind myself of that in my life today in order to get to where I want to be in the future, when I'm 30, when I'm 40, when I'm a little old lady, hopefully, sat with all my gorgeous children and grandchildren around me. And I've lived the life of my dreams. And my gorgeous grandchild is saying to me, Grandma, how did you do it? Lucky girl syndrome, babe. That's what your nanny did. She believed in herself and she took a leap of faith. Regardless of how society or anybody else made her feel, she knew that there was something better for her in this life, and she acted on it when she needed to, when the universe gave her the opportunity to. Our emotions are the best way to be able to interpret how you are doing with tapping into your lucky girl syndrome. When you are feeling connected to your higher self, when you are tapped in to being a lucky girl, you will feel eager for life. You'll feel optimistic anticipation. You feel like something good is around the corner and you just know it. You have a gut feeling something big is about to happen. You don't know what it is, but you're expecting that email to change your life. It's going to land in your inbox. Probably it already has. That's what it feels like when you're tapped into Lucky Girl Syndrome. When you are disconnected from Lucky Girl Syndrome, when you are disconnected from your higher self, when you're not in flow with the universe and all of its abundance, you'll feel fear, you'll feel stuck, you'll feel bored, you'll feel low. All of those emotions are telltale signs of misalignment. And what do I mean by misalignment? By misalignment, I mean you're not doing things to bring yourself back to what makes you feel good. Essentially, all we can ever do to try and become our higher selves is to continuously do things that are getting us to the next best stage of happiness, the next best feeling that we can have access to. We're constantly trying to reach. And I phrase it in that manner because I can't sit here and say we're constantly trying to reach spiritual enlightenment, we're constantly trying to reach excitement, we're constantly trying to reach just pure crying tears of happiness, joy. Because if you are in a place of fear or grief or powerlessness, then the next best emotion for you is not going to be hopefulness or even optimism. Like, you're still a few steps away, whether you realise it or not, from being able to get to that set point on the kind of emotional guidance scale. You know, we have to kind of neutralise those emotions of misalignment first before we can get to those bigger, really joyful emotions. So, for example, fear, you're going to have to neutralise into doubt. Instead of it being fear, you think about the word fear and what that does to your body. You think, okay, what's one step back from that? And that is doubt. What's one step back from doubt? That's probably feeling overwhelmed. And where did you get your overwhelmness from? Probably from feeling boredom or frustration or pessimism or impatience. So when I say to you, if you're feeling misaligned, really try to put a name with the emotion that you're feeling currently, and then just try to step one level back up the emotional scale until you get to those amazing feelings of joy, passion, positive belief, all the way up to love. Can you get straight to love? Because that's what the goal is. That's when you're tapping into Lucky Girl Syndrome. And when you are tapped in, you don't have those feelings of impatience, of doubt, of resentment, blocking what you're saying you want to come into your physical reality. Because when we're in a state of flow and of Lucky Girl Syndrome, it just comes to you because there's nothing blocking it. You've worked through the trauma. You don't have those negative self-beliefs. You know that you can do it. You know that you're worthy of it. I want you to think right now of a goal that you've been telling yourself for a long time that hasn't come into fruition yet. It's not come into your physical realm yet. But you've been saying that's what you want to achieve for a long time, whether it's reaching X amount in your savings account or achieving that goal at work or whatever. Let's go with the savings account example. Think of where you are now. Think of your situation right now. Let's call that Birmingham. You're in Birmingham, okay? In the situation you're in now, that's where you are. We're going to put a location to it. Your goal, the amount of money you want to have in your savings account, is London, okay? So you want to get from Birmingham to London. You get in your car at Birmingham, you put in the sat-nav that you want to go to London. When you put it in your sat-nav, you see that it's going to take X amount of time to get from Birmingham to London, and you're like, cool. Maybe even plan a snack trip on the way, babe. I don't know. I don't know what you do with your driving journeys. I don't know who you listen to. Hopefully me. Hopefully Grind and Glowing, babe. But you know how long it's going to take to get there. and you know what you have to do. You know you have to turn left at this roundabout. You know you have to stay on the motorway for 30 miles, etc., and then turn off. You know the action steps that you have to take. Well, when we aim for goals in our mind, sometimes it can feel a little bit confusing and a little bit overwhelming of how we're going to get there. Because even though we have all the best intentions and we say that that's where we want to get to, we want to get to London, right? We want to get to X amount in our savings account. That's what we are trying to achieve out here. Every time you are having a misaligned emotion, you're doing a U-turn, babe. You're not tapping in. You're not acknowledging your birthright of good things happening to you. Your birthright that absolutely you deserve and should have X amount of money in your savings account. You should get to London. You're not acknowledging that. You're staying stuck in the misaligned emotion of whatever emotion it is, whether it's jealousy or sadness, boredom or frustration. You're staying in that misaligned emotion, and so you aren't actually following the sat-nav to London, babe. You're actually just going around in circles at the roundabout. Manifestation, law of attraction, it's not just putting it out there to the universe. I want to have 10 grand in my savings account and that's what I want. So universe, give it to me, please. Law of attraction and manifestation is constant bringing it back to being aligned with who our higher selves are. And how do we get there? Love. Like I said earlier, love is a superpower of the universe. What can you be doing to bring yourself back to love? What can you be doing to bring yourself higher on the emotional guidance scale that is the best interpreter of how close you are to reaching your goals? Because if you're in a low, misaligned emotion, you're just not getting it. And don't get me wrong, those low, misaligned emotions are incredibly human emotions, human parts of the journey. But that's where so many of us get stuck, is we stay there. And then we say in 5 years' time that our life hasn't changed and it's because of everything else. It's because of outside circumstances. It's because of this that's happened in the market. It's because of this that we didn't get the raise at work. It's because of this and this and this. It's all outside experiences. And just because the way the world is currently, it can be a negative place to be. You look on, all you have to do is turn on the news for 5 minutes and you're given 20 extra things to worry about that day. Which is why, if you want to tap into Lucky Girl Syndrome, if you want to achieve your goals, if you want to get to London, babe, you have to go inward. And that's where you have to live. You have to meditate. You have to do the work. You have to work through your trauma. You have to let go of negative thoughts about yourself. You have to let go of judgments. You have to unlearn everything negative that you've learned because it's not serving you any favours with Lucky Girl Syndrome. And I think a really key example of this is, why is Lucky Girl Syndrome such a thing online right now? Why is it such a big trend? Why are so many people so interested in it? And it's because it seems like such a great idea, like so cool, right? What? You can have anything you want? And it's just your birthright? Yeah, babe, I'm telling you it is. But why are you more comfortable believing in a social media trend over already having that innate belief in yourself already? Why do you need to see it on TikTok to believe it? Why can't you just know? Why can't you give that to yourself? Why can't you know that you deserve good things? You came into this world knowing abundance, happiness, health, success, wealth, whatever it is that you want, is your absolute birthright. You came here knowing you are the creator of your reality. And because of outside circumstances, because of things parents said to us when we were young, because of bullying experiences, because of the way people have put us down, because of bad things that have happened to us in life, we have got distracted. So much so that patterns of resistance have genuinely built up in your mind that have weakened the connection to you and your higher self. And let me tell you, your higher self is always trying to come through. She is always trying to help you. Release the resistance. And let me tell you, the tiniest mindset shifts can make the biggest changes. I honestly think it's times like when I'm sat in my playroom with Saint, who's just spilt his drink over the playmat, or we've lost a shoe, or, you know, I've just stepped on a packet of crisps that's been just left on the floor from half an hour ago when he said he wanted Wotsits and then he didn't actually end up wanting them, but they're open because he had two and then decided that. Like, all of these things, okay, they can become really overstimulating. They can feel overwhelming if you are in a low, misaligned emotional state. Why can't we just see them as just things? It's not good or bad. In fact, they could be funny. Why can't they be funny? Oh my God, Saint just spilt his drink. Oh, it doesn't matter. Look how lucky we are to have kitchen roll in the cupboard right next door. I'll go and grab it and it can be cleaned up in 30 seconds. Then I don't ever have to think about it ever again. Why can't we just do that? Instead of letting I use motherhood as like a very small example because, babe, trust me, I am a toddler mum. I understand the small moments feeling frustrating, okay? I understand that. But this is your reminder, my reminder, everybody's reminder. Whether you're a mum to a toddler or not, whether these are just, moments that happen in motherhood that can feel overstimulating, or moments that happen at your office job that feel overstimulating, or, I don't know, you're on your way to the gym and you drop your gym card and, oh, it's all a big kerfuffle. Like, these don't need to be things that send us into overdrive, guys. They don't need to be things that completely lower our emotional state. Because lucky girl syndrome is not just sitting there at home and thinking, my life is just going to be perfect. I can just feel it, and really like trying to say that to yourself and believe it. Lucky girl syndrome, law of attraction, manifestation, it all happens in those small moments. The moments when you're sat on the bus or you're stood in the queue at Lidl. It's those moments where you're not thinking. You need to snap your fingers and you just think, okay, hang on, how am I actually feeling right now? What am I subconsciously expecting to happen next? Am I expecting there to be an issue of some sort the second I leave this shop? Am I expecting there to be a car parking ticket? Because I can just feel that might happen. Switch that, flip it. These are your subconscious thoughts that are so deeply ingrained sometimes. Yes, it is going to take work to get them out of the system, but that is the difference between a lucky girl and an unlucky girl. Lucky girl syndrome doesn't just happen in the big moments. It happens in the small moments. It's your vibration 24/7. How many times have you caught yourself waking up recently? You think, oh, another day. Oh, another day doing this. Oh, today's not going to be very fun because of this. And if you can't remember how you're feeling in the mornings, I want you tomorrow to make a conscious note of what your first thought is when you wake up. Do you feel great? Do you feel lucky to be here? Do you feel alive? Do you feel, wow, so excited for today and all the opportunity it can bring? Or do you feel, oh, my alarm clock. Oh, God, I'm so tired. I saw a TikTok the other day, actually, of a girl explaining how a neuroscientist had explained somewhere that 10 minutes after waking up, the brain is in something called theta waves, which is where the brain is more susceptible to what you're telling it. It's more susceptible to taking in that knowledge, what you're telling it, what you're saying to it, and believing it. So that's where our beliefs come from for the day a lot of the time. It's how that mood is, how that vibe is in those first 10 minutes of waking up. How crazy is that? And if you're spending those 10 minutes going, oh my God, I'm so exhausted today. Oh, I'm so dreading today. I'm so bored of my life. Then that's what's going to happen, babe. Those moments when we wake up in the middle of the night and we go to the toilet, me, 20 times at the moment because pregnancy bladder, let's not even go there, babe. But let's switch it. So those 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes a lot of the time, 2 minutes that you're awake in the middle of the night and you go for a wee or whatever, instead of saying, oh my God, like I've only got 2 hours left of sleep before my baby wakes up or blah, 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 I feel really tired, this is hurting, that's hurting, I'm just going to repeat to myself, I'm so lucky. Amazing things are happening to me. The universe sends me health, wealth, happiness in an avalanche of abundance. I mean, maybe I might need to simplify the sentences, to be honest. If it's like 2 a.m, I'm not going to be able to remember all those words. But we can simplify it, babe. Everything I want wants me more. What's hard about that? Everything I want wants me more. Yes. Doesn't that feel great to say that? So change those 10 minutes when you wake up, whether it's in the middle of the night or you are lucky enough to have a full night's sleep and you wake up at 7 a.m, instead of going straight on your phone or whatever, spend 10 minutes just thinking of all the good things that could happen today. They could happen today, right now, you don't know. But that, everybody, is the difference between lucky girl syndrome and not so lucky girl syndrome. Let's take a deep breath. That got deep. I hope there's something in that served you, though. I hope there's something that you can take away into your life for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. And remember, I'm a lucky girl. I trust, know and believe that the life I envision is on its way. I'm a lucky girl. What can I say? But to finish off today's episode, as always, guys, we're going to do our growing and glowing moments of the week. I really want you to sit there and think about your growing and glowing moments of the week as I tell you mine. My growing moment was actually, I'm going to say this podcast. I'm going to say growing and glowing was my growing moment of the week. I really learned, what did I learn through my growing moment? I really learned, as I have already said at the very start of this episode, that being vulnerable can really provide us with so much connection. And although I was apprehensive and worried and have been worried to upload that very first episode of the podcast for so long, it's been on my mind for such a long time, and there was so much fear holding me back from sharing my experience and just talking really openly. There was something really, really scary about that for me. Being vulnerable is not something that comes easily to a lot of us, but actually it was another reminder that it's when we're vulnerable that's when we can connect with each other the most. And I would say that was my growing moment. I'm really proud of myself that I tapped into a vulnerable side, and despite all the things I've learned in my life that have taught me to not be vulnerable and to not showcase my emotion and to hide my experiences, I think that was a real reminder that I needed. And honestly, that is thanks to you guys for being so sweet and loving and supportive and just the best friends that I could ever ask for. I genuinely cannot thank you enough for my growing moment this week, because you guys have given me that. Thank you. My glowing moment of the week, actually, it was my baby shower yesterday. It was little guy's big day yesterday. I had such a lovely day. And one of the things that was most beautiful to me about it, that I really wanted to note down for my glowing moment of the week, was that I, in the past, have always, when I'm hosting events, felt a lot of pressure for it to just be really amazing and for everybody just to have the best time ever, to the point where I'm so almost out of the moment and not present that I go home sometimes. I've been home from these events that I've thrown sometimes, and I thought, oh my God, I wasn't even really present in that conversation with that person. Why did I not ask them about this? And why did I not fully give all of my attention to them in that split second because I was talking to them? But it was because I was subconsciously worried that everybody else was having a great time, because that means acceptance, that means love, that means being part of the tribe, right? I guess that's a really deep way of saying how much you want everyone to have a great time at an event you throw. But yesterday I was really, really happy with how present I was able to be with each and every person, and I genuinely had a really nice time. I felt like I really connected. It was only a very, very, very small do. I'm going to speak about this in a podcast in a couple of weeks' time when I'm going to do a big one on grief. And at the moment I've been really missing my mum. And so I didn't really want to do a baby shower, but I decided to do a very, very small one. So everybody that was there, they were my BFF, absolute core member of my crew. And I just really enjoyed being present with them. I think that's something that's really important that everybody should remember to do, is just, we don't have the past, we don't have the future. All we have is the present. So take your mind away from any worries that you have right now about anxieties about what could happen tomorrow or even later on today. Don't be thinking about what's happened in the past, and just soak in your moment that you're having now for everything it is, and see all of the beauty in it, because there is so much beauty. And that was my glowing moment. I was really happy that I was able to feel like I could do that. With all that said, everybody, it is time for me to send you on your way for the rest of the week. I hope you have an incredible one. Thank you so much for tuning in to Growing and Glowing once again, everybody. You have no idea how much it means to me. I am eternally grateful for you, and I love you deeply. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let's not all forget we are all lucky girls. This universe is ready and waiting, babe, to give us everything we could ever imagine and more. We just have to be willing and ready to receive it. I would absolutely love nothing more than to see how you guys have listened to me today. So please tag me if you're going to do a story or anything, because I would literally love to see how you've been listening. Our Instagram and TikTok are at Growing Glowing Podcast, and of course we have a YouTube channel as well. If you guys have been listening to this today on Spotify or Apple, of course, please, I'd love for you to press subscribe or follow or give us a little bit of a rating. But we do have the episodes available on YouTube too. Your friendship and love means more to me than I could ever say. I want you to go away for the rest of the week and remember that you are a lucky girl. The universe wants you to succeed, babe. We just have to be ready and willing to receive the magic. I love you all so much, and I will speak to you next week. Bye.